hello there.
This is a Dussack. In my opinion, one of the best single-handed sword designs in history. This particular reproduction here has a couple of issues. We'll get to that. But first off, I want to talk a little bit about the design overall. What makes it so good? Well, for one, if you value your hand, which is kind of important in a sword fight.
Nope.
This is great, with its large shell guard and a knuckle guard as well. So it protects the hand really quite well. The only way you can beat that is with a basket hilt. The hand can't really be targeted with a cut from this side. A thrust could get in there, but it's a very small target to hit at that point. The other side is more open, particularly when you're covering your outside line. Then this is somewhat exposed. And an inside guard, the hand is basically unassailable. I mean, just look at it. It's completely covered. The upswept quillon would be great at trapping an opponent's blade, which is also enhanced by these tooth-like cutouts there. They are decorative, but they can also have a practical purpose. Now, I don't know if that was intentional or not, but either way, you can imagine if an opponent's blade is caught here, it would be more difficult to withdraw it because it might get caught in those right here, and also in this corner there as well. The end of the knuckle guard and pommel have a similar shape. Again, this could be a purely stylistic choice, but I could imagine situations where this could make up for an error. Now, if an opponent's blade hits your pommel, you've already screwed up big time, right? But as opposed to some pommel shapes where it could hit there, bounce off or slide off, and then go into your leg or body or what have you, this could potentially be caught there and stopped. The blade is single-edged, but what I like to call functionally double-edged because it has a long, sharpened false edge here. Now, it could be even further down because I noticed when shopping with it, the sweet spot seems to be right about here where that edge ends. But you can still cut further up, of course. Now, with this asymmetrical hilt, you get less benefit from that because it's much more limiting how you can throw false edge cuts. Basically, you can come straight up like this for a false edge cut. The other side you can do as well, although it's a bit more awkward. You can't really cut diagonally from your right side. You can't do a thwart cut with this guard in the way. The only thing you could do from the right side with the false edge is a plunging cut like this. But at least you can do a squinting cut to either go over the guard or strike the top of the head. The spine can be used in a number of ways, like saving the edge, for example, when performing what would be a false edge displacement with a double-edged sword. In this case, you can do it with the spine. Also blunt strikes with the spine or holding onto it to assist in slicing cuts. You know, double-edged is great, but so is single-edged. They both have their pros and cons. And the double-edged point is more effective for penetration. I am aware of how I sound when reviewing swords. Any normie stumbling in here must be like, what the hell? Can't blame you. Anyway, so this design has a lot going for it, and also just looks great. This is one of the coolest looking swords in history, in my opinion. In my opinion, it's the only one that matters. This is made by Landsknecht Emporium. Before I get to the negatives, let's talk about the positives. First off, handling is great. My arm is still messed up, so I can't really show you very well, and this cannot be used with the left hand. For obvious reasons. One could almost think that my elbow is healing slowly because I keep aggravating it. Nah, that can't be it. It has a certain heft and blade presence which you want for a sword like this. It's supposed to deliver powerful cuts or strikes. The blade is very well made aside from the edge grind, and it's surprisingly flexible, which may be due to the fact that this also comes in blunt sparring version. So if they make the same blade, then this would be more flexible than you would normally expect from a sharp blade. Just for safety in sparring, it needs to be. For a cutting sword, this is too flexible, but on the upside, that makes it all but indestructible. You can chop wood with it and it's just fine. It vibrates quite a lot, although interestingly, it doesn't give you that much hand shock. Strong and durable is an understatement. You see, if I slam it into this boulder, just kidding. Clenched the sphincter for a moment, didn't you? The way the hilt is put together is also extremely solid. It feels like a single piece, basically. There is absolutely no movement of any kind. Even when chopping into hard materials, it works, and it's incredibly durable. It's really two things. First off, it don't cut for shit. Edge alignment does not look terrible. Getting tired of this. These mats are expensive. It's $14 a piece. That hurt. This is almost more like a splitting axe grind. Very thick, sturdy, hard to damage outside of bashing it against steel. But the problem is, it doesn't cut very well, other than hard targets like wood. And even then, it's not very good because it often glances off instead of actually biting into the wood. In a recent video, I had the same problem with a different blade and went into detail explaining exactly what the issue is and why it's not as simple as just sharpening it, because it's the problem with the blade grind overall. So if you try to touch up just the edge itself, at the apex of the edge, it's not going to get you that far. I would have to change the angle on that, and I might do that later and include it in the video. Hey, future Skall here. Still passed to you, obviously. I'll have to do that another day. Reprofiling the blade takes a little while, and it's hard to keep up. I'm trying to put this video out on Friday. It's Thursday evening. I'm still editing, just past the halfway mark, and I don't have anything else ready to go. But in my opinion, it makes sense anyway to review what you're getting without modification. Obviously, in an unarmored historical duel, you wouldn't want to be hit by this, right? I mean, a strike to the head is going to be extremely effective still. Against hard targets, it does chop, so it'll go into bone and it'll do a lot of damage that way. And the head is one of the prime targets in the historical fighting manuscripts. But sometimes you do attack the torso or the limbs, and in that case, it's not going to do very well even against sturdy clothing, let alone a gambeson. In case you don't believe me, let me demonstrate something. And by the way, don't do this. I'm a professional idiot and not to be imitated. This is my thigh. This is a towel. I'm wearing gray so you can see better that there's nothing. Of course, I can't hit myself as hard as I could at full extension hitting someone else. Right? But still, you'd expect something, but there isn't. No cut, all right? I'm not going to show you my naked leg before you get excited. Would it still hurt to get hit with this full force? Yes, absolutely. Could you still break a forearm or an upper arm, perhaps, with a hard enough swing? Yes. But does it cut? No. Would I do that with this sword? Or this? Or this? Absolutely not. Just to make that clear, not all historical swords are shaving sharp or anything. Right? There are different grinds and different sharpnesses as far as we can judge them. The problem, of course, is often that these are quite old, so they are not in new condition. They might have dulled from use or just over time, even from storage or excavation. There's a lot of different factors. All I can say is that this one wouldn't cut through even sturdy clothing, most likely, and it's a terrible tatami cutter, which still matters on the current reproduction market. Some people, if they want to buy a battle-ready sword, that's what they want. The other issue here is the finish. It's pretty rough in some spots. Hopefully, with the sunlight shining on it, you can see that well. Now, the rust here, I don't know how long it's been in storage at Cult of Athena before I got it. Either way, the finish there is very rough. Right? Also, the thumb ring here, I can't really show that. I can only tell you that this is quite sharp. Those corners there. Definitely a glove kind of sword. 100%. For a number of reasons. One being that the handle wrap is somewhat slippery. It's a bit too smooth for my taste. And the thumb ring has sharp corners. Could have smoothed that over a little bit. The leather wrap on the handle is a bit sloppy. I'm not really used to seeing that from Landsknecht Emporium. You can see it's pretty uneven and sticks out a little bit. It's not a problem, practically speaking, and some originals are worse. We have, like I've talked about before, we have pretty high expectations and are very critical about reproductions now, but back then they often didn't care that much. So I don't think this would really stick out. Overall, a unique, effective, and cool-looking type of sword, and a tanky reproduction, shall we say. So if you're thinking about buying this Dussack, and either don't plan on doing any cutting with it, or want the blunt practice version for sparring, or don't mind putting in quite a bit of work to fix the edge grind, I'd say do it. Dussack. Why do I have to be like this? Anyway, hope you found this interesting. Thanks for watching, and stay sharp. Get sharp. Last but definitely not least, special thanks to all the generous patrons and members who keep supporting the eccentric things I do, and help me buy more tatami mats, and sanding belts, and ballistic gel heads, and camera gear, and coffee. I appreciate you, and I hope you enjoy the extra stuff I put up for you. Semi-regularly. And by that I mean without schedule, whenever I'm able to. In the meantime, there's always the Discord server you can hang out in. Speaking of which, if you're a YouTube member and don't have full access to the server, please let me know. Discord has a bot that assigns roles automatically, but YouTube doesn't. If you'd like to join but are not sure whether to pick Patreon or YouTube memberships, Patreon. But either is appreciated, so again, thank you. Alright, yes, I finished this video just in time with like an hour to spare. Oh, I still gotta come up with the title and description and make the thumbnail.